What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Brian Reveal Show. I am your host, Brian Reveals. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. What's up, people? Listen, wow, it's been a crazy couple of weeks for me. It's been a crazy month, but tomorrow, I don't know about y'all, but I want to talk about really quick the importance of taking a vacation because when you go through certain shit, when you go through life, when you go through the ups and downs and things that will turn you around, being corny for 2 seconds. No, for real. I really need to go on vacation. I'm going to spend the next few days in the mountains, in Colorado. I'm going to chill, relax, talk shit with y'all, see what y'all up to. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready. I'm so ready for this. I need it. I deserve it. I work hard for it, and I got to get it. Everybody, welcome to the party. Come on in the room. Tonight, to me, I think is a very essential, conversational, very important topic. And a lot of y'all like to talk about getting to the bag. This is about getting to the bag for real. Tonight, I have a special guest that's going to come on and talk to us all about it. He is, someone that I've been paying very close attention to on social media. And as it relates to making the right money moves, making money moves in general, this is what we need. This is what we deserve for our community. Ladies and gentlemen, Travis Turner, what's up, brother?
What is going on, bro?
What's going on?
Thanks for having me, bro.
Of course. Absolutely. Tell everybody about yourself. Tell everybody about your background. Tell everybody about what is it you do professionally.
Absolutely. So everybody, my name is Travis. I'm actually a day trader. I trade in the markets, many markets. I trade in foreign exchange, commodities, oil, stocks, all kind of things, heavy in crypto. And I specialize in really getting people the education to do so for themselves. Really, financial education is key to me. And I like to consider myself a liaison for people who kind of don't know a whole lot, for us who come from a working background, the basics, to really learn what it is to dive into these markets. So I was a firefighter, EMT paramedic for almost 14 years before I started doing this. And when it's really eclipsed my full-time income, then I started doing it full-time.
Absolutely, man. Well, welcome to the party.
Appreciate it.
You have made it to the land of the revealers, and we're here to tell the truth.
Okay. I'm with it.
Absolutely. Bro. You ready, brother?
I am with it.
All right. Absolutely. So let's get on with our trending topics. You know what? I'm glad that this has been a slow week because of the importance of what we're going to talk about tonight. For me, I would rather spend more time on how to engage with our people and have them build wealth and things that we're going to talk about tonight. So I think that, hey, more time on that, less time on what the shit that's happening in the news or whatever. We can push that back for another week. Like, we good. Let's get to it. So I think that one of the things that has really started to go viral, particularly in our community, is the Breakfast Club's interview with Dr. Umar Johnson. Now, Umar Johnson, in my opinion, has been one of the guys that I think that has, whether you love or whether you hate him, he has gems that you could pick up. Listen, y'all listen to me. Y'all don't give a shit about half the shit I say. You know what I'm saying? I certainly don't give a shit about half the shit y'all say, but every once in a while, you motherfuckers is right. You know what I'm saying? I don't throw a baby away with the bathwater. I take with it what I can. That's what having a discerning mind is really all about. So what's going on with Dr. Umar? You know what I mean? I hate that he is not getting at least the due diligence of what he's saying. You know what I mean? Instead of just like throwing it all away. But let me set it up for you. I think the thing that a lot of people are taking away from his conversation was really about his criticism and challenges about why Biden has not done more to help the Black community. And I'm going to take a couple of different excerpts from the interview. One of the statements that he said is that President Biden, your first day of office, you signed an executive order to protect the life and safety of transgenders. He said, I have no problem with that, but you did it on your first day. But he sat up there with you, Charlemagne, and told Black people that if you don't vote for me, you ain't Black. Moreover, he said, so if you went out of your way begging Black people to vote for you, we haven't got an executive order. We ain't got no activity coming from the Oval Office from President Biden to protect Black people from police. He then went on to say that Asians have only been dealing with violence for 1 year, which is bullshit. Now that, again, throw the baby out with the bathwater. We won't do that. He also said, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the COVID Hate Crimes Act that was passed by the Senate, right? That's why we pretty much don't have what we have. So additionally, he says, however, Black people have been dealing with violence for over 400 years, and several lynching bills, including the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill, have not been passed by Congress. So there's a lot of criticism. There's a lot of sort of pushback that I frankly think that the administration deserves, because this is according to Biden. A lot of people can't tell you that he has a Lift Every Voice Act. A lot of people can't tell you that. They don't tell you that because they don't read. Now, if they did read, now I will say that he has passed inclusive executive orders, right? He's written several executive orders that are not specific for Black people, which is the tone, the expectation, and the purpose of that conversation. Because we're so diluted as people, we don't see ourselves as a community with our own unique issues.
People of color.
Absolutely. We're not Black anymore. Now we're in this people of color category, and we want to blend more into our intersectionality than our Blackness, because that's not politically how they see you. So, brother, if you have anything that you would like to elaborate on when it comes to that, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm specifically, just like you said, I don't have to roll with everything that he says, but when he make points, he make points. The things that he said specifically about what Biden came actually on that show, Breakfast Club, and specifically targeted Black people. That wasn't a people of color then. That wasn't all-inclusive type thing then. That was specifically targeting the audience of that show, which is Black people. What leads you to indicate that when you're going to make any kind of change and we need to vote for you, that the change is going to come specifically for Black people too. And so it's great what he's done for Asians. Don't get me wrong. What he's done for transgenders, like Dr. Umar said, there's no problem with that. But the people you were targeting to make sure things happen, nothing has happened specifically for that group. Now, to compare it to what has gone on, the bill that's passed for the Asians, yeah, it relatively, as soon as it got in there, they made it happen quick. We've had a lot of stuff going on with us in history that makes me believe, and what I tell people is the system is just not for us, period. The system was never built for us. We're a surplus of people, and not to get all too deep into it, but we're a surplus of people who were never meant to be out here having equal rights anyway. So a lot of stuff that they're going to do and concentrate on is just not going to be for us. So he has points. It's a lot of stuff that he will say that I toss out with it. You know, it doesn't apply. I might not believe in it. But with anybody, I'm not going to believe in anything everybody says. But with what he says, it makes sense to me. I wholeheartedly agree with him on those points, specifically about Black people and not being all inclusive. So I have no arguments with that part at all, with what he said about Biden and the things that we probably should demand more. It's not enough to just win the elections with what we're doing. It really needs to be more demanded after that and to apply to us specifically. So I agree with that itself.
Absolutely. So the first 100 days of Biden's administration, what do you think Black people need to do now? Because I think, number one, the HR 40 bill is out there.
Yeah.
And this is all, an all-inclusive topic. Yeah. So it's a topic that kind of includes that as well. We're talking about money. So what do you think that our community needs to ask for now that the 100 days has passed? What is our bargaining chip?
Really, at this point, we have to look at the point of the way we consume. We got to look at the way we handling the money we have and what we're doing with the things we're getting. Now, you're talking about PPP loans are out here. We're talking about extra grants are out here for people not paying rent. We're talking about a lot of stuff is going on now where people are being taken care of in ways they never were taken care of before. And we're putting the money right back into the system. The way we're going to have to speak out and it's hard to say this because it's hard to get everybody on the same page, is economically. I think one of the things that we have the biggest impact on is the way we consume, the goods we buy, the way we shop, how long the dollar circulates within us. We really have to lobby for change with the government, number one, with Biden, the things that are done with police brutality. We do have to lobby for that and really make a voice and stand for it. But we also have to look at the impact we're having with our dollars. If we really would take a stand on some of the things that we're producing in the economy, the way we're consuming a lot of this stuff, and I don't have to get into specifics with designer brands, who's doing what, because it's people who are doing great stuff in the community and buying designer. It could go either way. Mm-hmm. But the majority of us as a group, we're consuming way more than what our income even allows at this point. And I believe it'll make a huge statement, just so I take a stand on that. Lobbying, number one, putting people in power. Like it all boils down to economics with me. I'm very big on get money so you can buy the politicians you need to buy. Then you can put the rules in place you want to put in place. So it all boils down to money with me. Like we can go up there. We could ask for certain bills. We could ask about a lot of stuff specifically with police brutality, make stands. But with them, it's about money. That's what speaks to them. It's about money. One of the things they even brought up on the show, why the verdict was way the verdict was, because the city was most scared about damage from the money aspect of rioting. A lot of the white supremacist groups under the banner of BLM and things like that, causing more damage. They was most scared about that. Wow. So I believe money will always have the biggest impact. One of the things we need to do. It's hard to get all of us on the same page from people who haven't had and finally get it. But I believe that's one of the biggest impacts we're going to have moving forward. Other than that, we're still playing in their system.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You know, I think that was a brilliant transition. So we can jump right into our feature topic of the night, but we're going to do that after I give everybody an opportunity. This is a nice show, y'all. Like, yes, we keeping a G, but y'all listen, I got a little the allergy situation. So I'm going to take it easy. You know, I got a little bit of something right here. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's not the usual whiskey. But listen, I want everybody go get you a drink. We'll be back in 30 seconds. I'm going to give you a chance to go refresh, get you a couple of ice cubes. You should already have you should really already have your drink. You know what I'm saying? So go get it. I'll give you 30 seconds and we'll be right back. Okay, people, we're back. Okay. Again, thank everybody. I thank you all for tuning in tonight. Tonight, we're going to have a topic that's really centered around money moves, right? And these are going to be basically moves that are specific to building wealth, money management, credit, real estate. We're going to talk about the whole gambit. But before we do, I just want to address a couple of comments. You all know I pay attention to the comments because you are a part of the show, just as I am, just as Travis is. Like this. We are in our own universe. But Bo, it says not completely true. The first executive order was specific to racial equity. But at some point she said absolutely. So, boy, I'm going to pretend like you agreeing with what I said. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. Yes, definitely. Umar had another interview this week. Actually, I believe it was yesterday with the Breakfast Club. Please go check it out. I will say that he has a history. If anybody is familiar with the Breakfast Club, the brother came on there very radical Hotep style, very Hebrew Israelite, and we know how in your face those motherfuckers can be. So when we come back to like how he has grown, I think he probably has grown in media. I don't know if he's grown in philosophy, but whatever it is, I don't give a fuck about who he is. My thing is that what he is saying on the airways needs to spark a conversation in the mind of people and it needs to spark a conversation in terms of being rejuvenated for building ourselves up. And I think at the end of the day, when we kind of take a look at those things, I think his intentions are in the right place. But I'd rather pay attention to his intentions than his, and his actions, because he's not a demonstration for me. But with that said, the featured topic of the night, everybody, featured topic of the night is money moves. One of the, as I was sort of building out season one and kind of thinking about the topics for this show, I couldn't help but to think about the widening racial gap for wealth and how since the 80s, it has just almost seems like it just spread a little bit more rapidly than it did, I would say prior to segregation. And I think that there's a mindset that we have to adopt in order to participate in those systems, to benefit from those systems, and to have a methodology in place where we can continue to reinvest into our families. Because I don't know if the community is there as of yet. I think it's a slow tide, but I think that we got to form families and networks to reinvest into, and then teach them about strategy and how that works for wealth. So in my mind, I think the most attainable thing in order for us to be able to do that is the stock market. As a professional yourself, Travis, what would you say to the average investor, whether they have years experience, like investment objectives, with their risk or analysis, is they're more familiar with that. But for someone who may not know, what advice or what should the average investor know about the stock market?
Yeah, the 2020 crash and come up led a lot of people to believe that investing is like a get rich quick situation. The average investor, especially coming from a working background, a 9 to 5 background, or just people in our community in general who just haven't done it a lot, investing is a long-term game. One of the biggest curves when I talk to people who are new to it is getting in your head that investing is to be played out over time to build wealth that you can use, not to hurry up, flip a quick 20 into 10 grand type deal, not to start losing money like you're gambling, really to get in it with education, use resources, and really, really start getting on the path to financial freedom. Now, if you got capital, you can do things a little different. But if we're talking about the average person who hasn't dove into it, it's just things you need to know. So you need to really study anything you get into heavily involving money. But it's a long-term game. That's one of the first things I tell people. Like, really, it's a long-term game. Some stuff gain faster than others, but you need to come in with the mentality that this is a long-term game, not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Okay, absolutely. Now, in terms of long-term game, what time span are we looking at? Are we looking at 5 years, 10, 15?
Yeah, so I tell people, especially when you're developing the skill to be a great trader for yourself, give yourself 12 to 18 months to really master the skill itself, right? Then start really bringing in the capital to make great moves. One of the things that we lack, and even Dr. Umar with building this school, talking about things like that, we lack capital. We lack the actual money to come in and play like some other races who may have capital passed down to them, who may came into this with trust funds. We're trying to play with money we make it from our job. We're trying to get into it with money we need to pay bills. So we panicking when things go backwards, things like that. So we're talking about give yourself some years to really master the game. It won't take that long to start making money, but give yourself some time to really master the game. And then when it comes to building wealth, now you're talking about, it don't even have to be towards all the way through retirement, but give yourself, some years to really gain that. If you want to talk about 10 years, that's a really great span to really, really amass some money to where you be good. And then you dive into specifics about different types of investments you're doing and what it's paying you and things like that.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I'm curious about the specifics part, right? Because I think that in order for us to understand what specifics that you are that you're referring to, or if you want to get deeper in the conversation, what's next when you look at, yes, I understand I got to be committed. There's a discipline element that comes with it. We're talking about building wealth. We're not talking about getting a few extra dollars as an income stream, right? This is about when your checkout date hits here, we all got to check out of here. What am I leaving to anything else? My kids, my mom, whomever. What does building that particular investment strategy look like? And I think that transition to diversification, portfolio diversification. It's one thing to say, okay, I understand I got to get stocks, right? Stocks. Nobody talks about bonds, fixed income. Nobody talks about alternatives. So can you talk a little bit about that and talk about the importance of portfolio diversification and what needs to be a part of that investment strategy?
Absolutely. So diversification is probably the biggest way you're going to build wealth. It's probably the best way, namely because number one, nobody has all the answers, right? So when it comes to investing, one of the things I want to emphasize with everybody is it's not a one-way type of thing. There was battles between people talking about difference between whether you should do cryptocurrency, whether you should do gold. There are people talking about whether you should do, don't mess with Forex or only do stocks. There are people talking about whether you should only do dividend type of stocks. Like, there's no one way. I want to say that, number one, because you never know what's going to be your niche or what's really going to blow for you, number one. So diversification gives you a chance to really not only just see what works, but in the long term, what will work for your specific type of form of investing. So if you're somebody who's more aggressive, you have more capital, you're going to invest differently. You're somebody who's working. You say you have a great job. You want to make it last. You want to have something at retirement. You're going to invest a little differently. You're going to invest a little smaller amounts over time for it to gain for you. So specifically, right? One of the things that I love what you brought up about having something to pass on. A lot of us have been taught, especially in my generation, coming out of school, get an education, go get a great job, and produce great income for yourself. So it's a lot of us who make great income. It's a lot of us who make great money with the things we have, the jobs we're working, and that's great. The problem is when it's all said and done, what will we have to pass on? We have something great where we can make money while we're here. We put our family in our kids in a nice school. We live in a nice house, but where they still have to get student loans. So something you want to look at when you talk about investing is what is going to be able to take care of things when I'm long gone. So that's where it comes in when you talk about real estate. When you talk about dividend stocks. Stocks that are paying you where you make money as it appreciates, and they're paying you a dividend in their quarterly outcome, right? So you're getting paid out from actually owning parts of the company. I really am a believer in getting paid dividends. So I'm high into funds, right? Major funds pay dividends. You get paid out quarterly and things like that. You can reinvest it and really grow like that. What a lot of people don't realize, especially with us in our community, you could literally get to the point where your investments are big enough in these specific type of stocks to where those stocks are actually paying your mortgage. They're paying your kids' mortgage. They're paying for houses, the dividends alone from those. So take a good look at those, right? You always want to consult with a financial advisor, of course, right? But take a good look at that. And if you have 401ks and things like that, really open it up and see what you're investing in. That's the number one thing. People always look for specifics. What's the name of a stock I should do and things like that? Not even paying attention to what they're already investing in now. So really pay attention to that. Diversify ETFs. You want to talk about things that pay portfolios. I forget the name I want to say right now just because I'm on here.
The yields. The yield spread, because it's coupled with the ETFs or with another product.
Right.
Right.
So one of the things is a lot of people, and when you're looking at stocks specifically, a lot of people don't realize that it's more than just stocks that play into it. It's more than just use something popular, Nike, something popular, Tesla, something popular like that that's going on that is moving a whole lot bigger than these larger companies. So you don't just want to get into stuff popular. You don't just want to Google something and do whatever they say on Google. You don't want to just buy the hype. You want to buy rumors. You want to sell high. You want to buy low. It's so much basic things that play into it, but it starts with you just actually studying and getting some research and consulting with people and actually seeing what you're investing in. It's a lot of people who lost a lot of money last year in their 401ks, and the company that they're invested with didn't pick up the phone and tell them, you could freeze it, move it into another account where you won't get penalized. And when you were recovering, bring it back here, start reinvesting it from the bottom because the stocks are low right now and make money on the way up. It's just simple things you can start doing right now that affect the future huge and for the generations to come. And just start doing research on that right now. But my recommendations, especially if you're talking about generational wealth, really start getting into stocks that pay dividends, into high yielding funds, and of course, real estate.
Absolutely. It's, before we transition into real estate, because I think that is, it almost seems like every time you go and scroll on Facebook, somebody else is a realtor. It doesn't seem like I know more motherfucking realtors on here than like God, but the thing about it is that, what should the average investor know out of everything that Travis sort of told everybody is, don't panic. I think that's another thing, because a lot of people, because they may not necessarily have the right investment strategy, they may leave their they may be obsessed with, like you said, the individual positions. Like Facebook goes up and then people are panicking. No, that's not how it's done. You got to let it ride. There's going to be highs and lows throughout the year, and that's up to a professional to be more concerned about. You just have to trust your strategy based on where you are at this time, right? Because your money is going to grow. Don't touch it. Don't pull it out. Don't ask them to sell it because you're panicked. Just ride the wave. And I think that's probably, for whether you're savvy or not, it's just good advice all around.
One of the biggest things is not being emotional when it comes to this. And that affects with people if you're trading and you're doing it with money you need. That goes right back into capital, diving into these markets. So really, that's another number one rule we should have brought up for beginners. Like, being emotional will not get you far when it comes to trading, when it comes to investing, especially in the stock market, any market for that matter. If you're rolling over, checking it every 2 minutes, and you panic as soon as it drops and you start to pull money out, you won't get far with it.
No, not at all. Won't get far at all. Speaking specifically of real estate, not only, as I mentioned, it almost seems like it's a new realtor every day. Everybody's a realtor on Facebook, everybody's selling houses, but for an investor, someone who is interested in, okay, should I go and buy a property and stay in it for a particular amount of time until it appreciates? Does my portfolio suggest I do that? Or REITs, real estate investment trusts? Will I be able to grow my money if I concentrated my portfolio, if I had a significant amount of REITs? Because in my community, things are growing, right? Can I get a more sizable investment if I'm willing to do that? So if I had to look at what was more profitable, what's more sustainable, can you talk to that for us, Travis?
So it's a tricky time right now in real estate. First of all, supply is real low. Materials, even for builders and constructors, it's up over 100% since last year, even on wood. And like you said, it is a lot of people coming up being realtors, but comes from a lot of stuff that has been glamorized with what the realtor world really looks like. So a real estate investment, on the other hand, is something totally different. You have to look at a whole lot of things with that, right? So real estate investing, as far as owning property, right? I have a duplex in Macon. If anybody from Atlanta, a little south of Atlanta, it's a city called Macon, and got a great price, right? Renters in there, had been in there when I got the property. Cool, everything is good. That's income coming every month. The house is paid off. REITs, on the other hand, right? If you're looking at trust, it's two types. You have public ones and you have private ones. Like even here in Atlanta, we had a gentleman, I forget his name. He had opened up a private one. It was huge. Everybody was investing in it. So you have to do your research on private investment trusts. It's hard to really decipher where the money is going when it's private. It's hard to, the books are not as open. Public ones you can get into online, that's huge and national, where the books are open and they publicly traded and things like that. It's a little easier to see where the money is going. What they do is own different properties where people are paying rent, and however much you invest, you get a percentage off of that. Things like that, you get paid back percentages and things like that. So both of them have different purposes. You know, right now, physical real estate might be a little harder to get started in because supply is low. People who are bigger investors who have more capital, they can come in, swoop in. People are literally paying $100,000 over asking price right now. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. So if you're new and you don't have that kind of capital, it is different ways to get involved in it. You got wholesaling, flipping houses wholesaling is a way of flipping houses without having to do the construction and things like that. It's a little different to get in the game. But I will say this, I still believe that is the better form of investing. Actually holding real estate, actually having rental property, or actually flipping. Like I said, I'm not a one-way type of person. I believe real estate investing, whether you're actually flipping it, whether you're buying or holding, whether you're doing something called BRRRR, where you actually buy, hold, you do rentals, you renovate, and you take the equity, buy a whole nother property, you do it over, and you do it over, and do it over, and have a bunch of properties. I believe that right there is one of the real keys to wealth. When you get to a point where you have the renters paying the mortgage, then the mortgage is paid off, you're still bringing cash flow, and whatever overages their renter is covering in that mortgage plus whatever they're paying over that, you're bringing in cash flow. Now when the house is paid off, it's all cash flow. Now you have several properties paying for the house you live in, and now that's paid off, right? And you still have money coming in, and that could be passed on to generations. On the other hand, not that I believe anything is wrong with real estate investment trusts, but it's more of a putting your money in a portfolio and you let somebody else realize the gains on that. So it's a little more putting it there, let it sit, let it grow over time type of deal. Whereas actual physical real estate, which I really would choose over the other, is you are more control of your money. You have more access to make it grow even faster. And I really believe that is the actual key to a lot of us who are not as experienced in stocks, not as experienced in trading period, can really get into something that could generate money for ourselves. It's just that right now, it's not easy to get into. Not impossible, but right now, just the stock is so low with people who are selling. And it's really a Band-Aid on the economy. Real estate is what we call a lagging indicator. For people who trade, you know what I mean? It's a lagging indicator. Right now, people feel like real estate is up. It's a lot of people getting into the game because they see people paying ridiculous amounts of money for real estate. So they become real estate agents. They seeing all these pretty women all on IG who's selling and looking good, doing it in their heels and things like that. So it look real glamorous right now. The government has put a Band-Aid on people being evicted, has put a Band-Aid on people going into foreclosure through different various government programs, state to state, and they even pushed the date back to when people can even be evicted and go into foreclosure. That doesn't mean people have caught up because they gave them more time. People are still doing whatever they're doing, whatever money they have. When that Band-Aid is lifted, the bottom is going to fall out, period. It's going to be an overflow of stuff. So right now, it looks like it's a great seller's market, and it is. but it's not because the real estate economy is in the best place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my advice when it comes to that is stack a whole lot of cash, be ready, be in position, do what you can do to be ready for that. But when it comes to, which one is more sustainable, I firmly believe the actual physical real estate holdings is more sustainable in the long run.
Absolutely. Okay. Beboa says, that's what I want to do in real estate, buy and sell properties. I think that's the name of the game, Beboa. I think that, as people change their perspectives about investing, which is what we're kind of talking about today, it's going to become much more lucrative. That's my worry. 57 billion owed to landlords in New York right now. So, wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
What's up, Cedric? What's up, everybody? Listen, we're going to take another break. Go and refresh your beverages, preferably alcohol, and we'll be back in just 30 more seconds. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. So we talked about a few different things before the break. Mostly about, as we were closing up the break, real estate and how that has become such, in my opinion, an overly saturated market in terms of interest. I think as a community, we definitely got to get more into diversification, which is what we're going to talk about. But as we kick off this next segment, I want to talk a little bit about credit versus credit repair, and for people who may not necessarily have these excellent 800 credit scores, which in my mind, as it relates to getting capital, we may not necessarily have the access to because we're still beneficiaries of oppression. But if we're going to do what's necessary to be able to reinvest in our own Black-owned banks, to make sure we show up with the diligence and responsibility that they are owed, if we're asking them for capital, what do we need to know about credit other than having a high credit score? And how do we go about repairing credit if we're not in the best place for it?
Absolutely. So it's a lot of free resources for those of us who do need to repair. I would recommend even in for the Facebook community, there's a few Facebook groups, Road to 750. It's a few of them where they specialize in really just giving a lot of free resources for you to start working on your credit. We have to understand that credit is a tool, right? Credit isn't meant for us. When we think about credit, a lot of us think retail when we think credit. We think credit cards, retail, buy things. Some of us even emergency funds like paying rent, doing things like that. Credit is a tool. It's of the utmost importance for us because, as we said many times with this, we don't have capital. We need something to leverage to get this kind of capital so we can start building capital through business, through construction, through real estate, through things like that, right? Credit is the great equalizer to make that happen. So if you're not in position right now, there's a lot of free resources where it doesn't cost money for you to start working on it yourself. Of course, if you do have a little money and you want to hire somebody to do it for you, that's cool, perfect. Make sure you research them. Make sure they actually have got results for people, legal results, stuff that's gonna stick. Because there's a lot of people could wipe your stuff clean just so you can get into a car, just so you can get into an apartment. But if we're talking about using it for a source as a tool for funding, for future endeavors, for diving into real estate, things like that, where you can actually get business loans and loans you need and things like that, you need to really focus on repairing it, which does take time. Now, if you're good and you just want to get increase it, it is resources for people who have great credit, where it's things like they can add you on lines of theirs, right? If you have great credit, you can leverage it to produce income for yourself. I know for a fact it's people selling like credit lines. Like, let's say they add you as an authorized user as a credit line. That doesn't mean you're gonna get their credit card or anything like that. They're charging people $600 or $700 just to do that. So credit not only can be used as a tool to go out and do bigger things, get loans or whatever you need it for, it also could be used as business to really start bringing in income for yourself. So you have to get to a point where you realize, like, you know what? I don't have a whole lot of money, don't have a whole lot of capital. At least I can have credit. So do everything you do to get to that point. Another lot of tools we use, right? It's a lot of places where you can apply, no matter what your credit score is, they'll give you lines of credit, like some of the little retail stores and things like that, jewelry stores. Don't go and use it and buy a bunch of jewelry.
Yeah, like Walmart.
Yeah, like Walmart. Yeah, it's stuff that when they give you credit lines, think of it as a tool. Don't think of it as retail. I'm about to go in here and do what I need. No. Use it as a tool to start building your credit. So it's a lot of free resources. It's a lot of stuff that you can do to start building it. So really start doing your due diligence. And it takes that. If you're somebody who's in a bad position with your credit, it takes due diligence. Make sure you're on top of that. But to build it up the right way, it takes time also. So this is also a long-term game. We're not talking about years with credit. We are talking about months though. So it depends on how bad it is. If you have stuff, there's resources, even with if you have evictions, if you have bankruptcies, it's a lot of resources out here now for people even like you to start building it from that. So, and it's also past just buying houses for yourself. Another thing we think about a lot is we want to get good credit so we can go buy a house. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I'm a heavy investor though. So I look at stuff like that as if it does produce an income, I don't need it right now, right? So even though I have real estate that produces income for me, the house that I live in, it still goes on Airbnb, right? Produce income for me. Some people, they just want the good credit to buy a house and get the car, and then they set. If that's what you want to do, perfectly fine. But for what we're talking about here, we're talking about investing. We're talking about producing cash flow for yourself. In the long run, you do hope it appreciates and you're able to make some money on it when you sell it. But if it's not bringing money in at the moment, you're dishing money out, right? You're paying insurance. You're paying mortgage. Because I see a lot of people compare, or you paying $1,200 a month, but I'm paying $800 a mortgage. But they're not talking about the insurance. They're not talking about the points. They're not talking about none of that stuff that they're paying also that amounts to a whole lot more than that person just paying for their one apartment. So it's a lot of variables going into that, right? But I really want people overall, no matter what you do, I'm not here to indict for what they choose to do with it, but use and think of credit as a tool. And so there is a big difference between, credit repair is very important, especially in our community, and actually using credit to leverage against other things. It's a gentleman, him 500, who has a platform, and he teaches people. If you're watching this is a great show. Also, Earn Your Leisure is a great one, and they have people on there who specialize in those fields. And I just learned just through trial and error, coming out, going to college, you get student loans, they send you the credit cards, you run it up. And now things are different. So you have to learn to look at it as a tool for sure.
Absolutely. So you know what, to kind of jump in here for 2 seconds, I was one of those kids, and see, I don't know about you, but I've never had $1,000, $2,500, $5,000 allowance at 18 years old.
Yep.
My mother was like, you got a job, what you bringing in here? Yeah. So it was like that. When you give a kid who has never had access to spending money, we go crazy. We really, really go crazy. I think that had I had that financial literacy, it wouldn't have taken me damn near a decade to rebuild my credit, because I never had I came up in a house that was all about savings and about entrepreneurship. It wasn't about credit. So I appreciate this conversation, but it also was not about literacy. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't about that at all. So if I would have had that, I wouldn't, perhaps I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? When I was afforded, my next level credit card that was higher than 5,000, it was like, okay, like I got it now because I had to go through that storm. And wouldn't you say that was how a lot of people get into this, and how do they not leverage credit when they get into a predicament?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was the same boat. I came out, they gave me $9,000. Before I got my card in the mail, I was in the mall. You know how they give you your info
That was
and
me.
everything? I was in the
I
mall
was in the mall too.
soon as I got it. So yeah, I believe a lot of us get introduced to a lot of, even if we're not, going to school and we get it through when we're 18. Soon as we do get one, that's the first thing we'll do. We never had access, like you said. I think that's the philosophy for real. A lot of us didn't have that kind of spending money. Now you telling me this is the amount I gotta do, and I can just pay it back when I pay it back. I'm talking about Best Buy. Back then we had CDs. We'll go Best Buy opening day, things like that. Best Buy.
Right.
Macy's was the store where you got the name brand clothing. Yo, Capital One was dropping platinum on me, so I'm up in this. Everything.
Yep.
Run it up. Everything. So the biggest issue is we consumers. That's one of the biggest things. We come out and now you're giving us a lot more capital to consume with. Is an issue. We're not even realizing, I could have used this, and the crash happened right around a few years after that. I could have been in position to have a spot at Atlanta Station. Like,
Right.
They didn't know because our parents didn't use it at all. It wasn't on that. Even if they had, like you said, my mom owned beauty shops. And so she had an entrepreneurial spirit. She knew about that stuff. But what she didn't know was about credit cards. She used cash everywhere. She used a debit card when they came out with it. So it's a lot of things, even though we've been taught certain mentalities when it comes to making money, a lot of us still didn't know a whole lot about credit, and we're still behind on that. It's just evident. The things you see, things that's going on. I was in Houston the other day, like I was telling you, and going through the Galleria, the line for Louis Vuitton was right around the corner. Wrapped around.
Damn shame.
And I'm looking in the line, and you can't judge everything.
Oh, yes, you can, brother.
I'm looking, I'm like,
yes, you can.
I know good and goddamn well you don't need to be in this line.
Exactly. And the only thing they got on is a Louis Vuitton belt.
Yes.
That's it. They go and they listen. We all know these kinds of people, the stimulus check people.
Yes.
They're going to take that money, and they're going to go buy a Louis Vuitton belt, a Louis Vuitton wallet, maybe some sneakers, and maybe a purse if they can afford it.
Yes.
But to me, it's hey, God bless them because they taking your money. But at the end of the day, number one, if we're gonna have this conversation, I would rather spend $500 if I'm gonna buy a wallet with a black-owned business. Because as a person who owns one, they ain't all of that. Right. I can find me someone who makes this same exact quality material, and I rarely give it to my people now.
Yeah.
But even before that, I'm judging you in the Louis Vuitton line, and you got you haven't even paid your car note yet.
Yeah.
Are your bills caught up? What's your credit score? Because if it's in the 500s, get your ass out of that line.
Right.
Get out of the line.
Yeah.
Priorities.
And it's a trip, but we are having this conversation about investing and doing better with our money as a group all together, even the basics of it, right? Not even getting too deep. But it's a trip that we're more easily ready to depart with our money over material things. We're easily depart with it over things for instant gratification. But when it comes to investing, when it comes to, some people have some very great programs for people to learn this stuff in. Why would I pay that to learn this kind of stuff when I could just do this? I could just go to YouTube, whatever, stuff like that, which you can learn a lot of basics on there.
Yeah, they can come here.
The mentality of it to me.
Come here.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The mentality of it is what's crazy to me. Like, you don't ask no questions when they tell you it's $700 for this belt. Why would I pay $700? No, that ain't what run through your head. I need that belt. But if somebody was to tell you whatever service they coming with, like, look, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do. This is what you need to learn. We go, yo, 250. Come on, learn this because I got a wealth of knowledge about your credit. I got a wealth of knowledge about learning the basics of trading. I got a wealth of knowledge about this. Yo, come support it. Let's get it popping. I don't know what all involved. I ain't spending that million questions then. The mentality is different. And people with wealth is so crazy because people with wealth, you don't have to convince them that investing works. You don't have to convince them of that stuff. They already know. They're just looking for some organized information so they can get it popping, get it rolling. It's only the people who really need to be doing it who come up with this stuff. And that's one of the things I really, really want to see. And it is shifting. I can't sit up here and that. Like when I get on Facebook now, I see more people talking about investing. I see more people asking questions. People DM me about crypto all the time.
Absolutely.
And I do love to see that.
Okay. In terms of Black wealth, and I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but we're going to go deeper on this topic. We talked a little bit about sort of the steps in order to get there, right? Number one, make sure your credit is straight. Why are you putting money into anything crypto when, you have a 520 credit score, After you get your credit straight, get it repaired. You're in a good place financially to get some capital. Start thinking about a portfolio and investment strategy. Start thinking about real estate, right? Start building that diversified portfolio to make sure that all of your entire investment capital, amount, assets are protected, and you have a particular smart strategy in place. But if we're going to get deeper into how to build it, right? Yes, we know what steps to use, but how do you build it? How do you get to a point where like you understand what's in place, but how do I get to that point where I can accumulate it? Like, can you talk to that point for a little bit?
Yeah, so it really, the deepness and specifics of it could run very deep, but everything you just said describes exactly the steps to do it. So if you want to talk about how do I get that portfolio and hold it, how do I start accumulating this stuff? It starts off one step at a time. So if you're starting from a place where, first of all, your credit isn't right, that's the first step to start building it, that foundation of it, having something to solid stand on. Now, I'm always an advocate of getting into something where it's going to generate money for you while you're at work, while you sleep, whatever you have going on. If you don't have capital to start investing in stocks heavily, to start bringing in that kind of income, if you don't have capital to start a business where you want to do anything like that, you need to get involved with something that's going to start producing that kind of residual income for you. So for our community, we have a stigma against certain type of businesses, even though they're all they might be legal. We might know people who are doing it. Like I look at like online, like Coach Stormy, for example. Like I don't know if you know who that is or not, right?
Coach Stormy?
Coach Stormy. She's in network marketing. She does I don't know if it's the teas or
the teas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the detox tea?
The detox tea.
Okay, there's a lot of that going on
in the morning and do things like that, right?
Yep.
The business structure might cost people to start in that type of business $99 or whatever the fee is, right? Or maybe under $200. You talk to people about this tea, you bring people in, and you start building business by people coming in up under you, right? As some people just drink the tea. Some people build the business by bringing people in. The structure of it, network marketing, MLM, right? Studying it and looking at it, we have a stigma again. And I'm not just going to say just this particular type of thing. It's a lot of stuff we have stigmas against. But that particular thing, people look at it, oh, I'm not recruiting people. I'm not doing that. I'm not cool. But this person is a multimillionaire. This person has helped a lot of people make a lot of money from a community where they had no way of doing it like that, except for selling dope, right? It's certain things that might come to us, right? Might come to us, and we might not fully understand it, right? But it's a system that works. You have to build some type of income residual coming into you. You have this going on, you know, you might have a podcast, something that you can build and start bringing in residual that has a low overhead. A lot of us want to immediately jump and look at things that look cool on Instagram. Cool, you know, I'm a realtor, I do lashes. This is nothing against any of those industries. But whatever you do, you have to have something else going on, but you're going to have to put in some work, right? You're going to have to do it. If you don't have capital to start off bringing in a bunch of money, you need to get in some type of field part-time that's going to bring in some type of residual income. That's the number one thing, and a lot of people don't like to hear it. I have a job. I might work a part-time. But anytime where you're exchanging your time for money, you only have so much time in the day. You need to get into something that's bringing in some type of residual income. Now, I got capital. Now, even if it's just 600, 1,000 extra a month, right? But I'm not having to go somewhere and work for it. I'm picking up the phone, talking to people. Maybe I'm doing something a little different, but I'm not physically having to spend a whole lot of time doing it, but I'm bringing in residual income. That's just one example of something, right? So I'm not telling people to go call Coach Stormy and do that, but I'm saying the business model of that is working, right? Now you're bringing in some type of money, you can start putting into investments. You're not using it from your job. You're not using your paycheck from that. You're using it to build your credit. You use it to do something better with yourself. So now you're starting to build from the bottom. So specifically, the steps are not always something pretty. It's not always something, oh, well, all you got to do is just work hard and believe. No, specifically what I'm going to be doing. Go find something that brings in a residual income. Really work it. Really do it. Start bringing in these things, streams of income, right? The income starts coming in. Use that to correct the things that are wrong. My credit is not the best. Start repairing it. Start paying stuff on time now, because I'm not just using the money for my job. Now my credit is better. I got leverage to get better capital. Use this capital to make bigger investments. If you have a 9-to-5 job and you don't have a home-based business, I don't care how much money you make, you're paying the most taxes out of anybody in America. You're paying more taxes than somebody who's super broke and poor on the street, of course, and you're paying more taxes than the super wealthy. Look at Donald Trump. Everybody was mad on him. He didn't pay no taxes. Instead of asking, how did you legally not pay no taxes? Investments. So you have to have something going on home base. If you're doing a podcast, if you're doing network marketing, whatever you're doing, you need to start that home-based business. Number one, for tax purposes. Number two, to start building in that residual income. That's going to be the foundation of that. So for those of us who have nothing and trying to start from the bottom, that is how you start accumulating. Now, when you get into real estate, you can start having more capital. You have leverage. You're able to go to the bank. You know what? I got leverage. I got money. I got credit. This coming on. Let me get this house. I build it out, split it in half. It's a duplex. I'm getting rent coming in now. Now I build that up, get the equity, go buy another house, do the same thing. Now this house getting paid off. The tenants are paying it. You can house hack, go live in one side of the duplex, have somebody else paying the rent. They covering the whole mortgage. You living for free. And now you're building on top of that, right? So my advice as far as building and securing that is the basics is, number one, start bringing in some type of additional income that you don't have to exchange your time for. You put in some work and then you get paid residually from that work. Number two, use that to build your credit. Use that credit as leverage to get more capital. Use that capital to start building your investment portfolio.
Okay, absolutely. Great advice. That's why you're here, brother. You're the expert. Well, to close us out tonight, retirement. I don't really think enough of us think about that because for whatever reason, we think that if Social Security is there, it's sustainable. I don't know about you, but I can't live off cornflakes.
No.
I can. You know what I'm saying? And you live all of these years to not have to, you know. Talk to us about retirement assets. How what kind of focus do we need to consider the different stages of life, and talk to us about assets for retirement versus long-term care.
So you brought up the wealth gap earlier, in race and everything like that, and that's important to think of with retirement. I want people to start thinking of retirement as a number, not an age. All right. For baby boomers, the generation before us, the retirement number is 1 million. Right? They get 1 million, they're good. For us, our generation, the retirement number is 2.5 million. You get 2.5 million, you good, you stay living the same lifestyle, you don't ball out, be lavish, you good to retire as soon as you get it. So when you think of investing like that, right? A lot of people look at it like, I'm just gonna build these investments till I retire. But I don't know anyone, and you could correct me on this if you know anybody who has worked the full 40 years and then financially free. So when we talk about, even with the wealth gap, when we get to retirement, when we get to really being done, when we talk about being done, you have to look at, number one, the money that is going out from you working, paying taxes. That's not yours anymore. So you go get, through the years, you're getting bumps in pay, you're getting increases, but you're paying higher taxes. That's not yours anymore. So just having that 401k is not going to get it, right? You have to have other investments that can cover that tax balance. You have bigger investments, you put the money in there, that's money you're not paying in taxes, right? So start looking at that. That's heavy when it comes to retirement. Health-wise, health going towards retirement, if you ever saw a Social Security statement, if you know anybody who gets one, ask them to take a look at the statement. It's barely enough to cover your cell phone bill. All right. Healthcare. When I worked as an EMT, when I worked in the field, I would literally go to, there were so many levels. In Atlanta, we have the East Side, we have something called Candler Road, Glenwood, and there's retirement homes on those roads. There's also retirement homes in Bankhead, Buckhead, North Atlanta, and those areas, night and day, right? Healthcare from the government covers you to live on Glenwood. The wealth from investments, the wealth from real estate, having generational wealth, allows certain people to be at the other ones at Buckhead. You're still under the same government. You're still getting some healthcare benefits, right? Both of them getting healthcare benefits. But these are the ones strictly living off healthcare benefits over here. And these are the ones living off those healthcare benefits and everything they've acquired through building wealth through investments over here. Mm. If you think about people who really are wealthy, not people who just make a bunch of money, people who are really wealthy and they work, usually it's people who have some type of point, some type of percentage from the performance of that business. Meaning the CEOs, they get paid out percentage, things like that. You get stock options in the actual company. The people who actually work for it the whole time, those are the ones who are going to be looking at, all right, when I'm done, I'm going to get my 401k, I'm going to have these health benefits. Those are the ones in danger, right?
Yeah.
We have to really stop depending on the economy to work in our favor and start building our own economy. And I'm talking about us personally, not just as the Black community. I'm talking about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you specifically, right? Me, I need to build my own economy. I need to have something going on, because it's coming to that day where you're going to retire. And then years after that, you're going to have to be taken care of. So the things you do now is really going to affect that. So the verses, one between the other, long-term healthcare, with insurance and stuff like that, with Social Security, things are becoming things of the past. There is ways to get paid out from that stuff and start taking care of it. That's a whole nother show. But actually attaining assets for retirement, start doing it now. More than just what your 401k is doing, because that's going to be good enough for you to live off of when you're done. But what would be passed on? Where will you be living? You know, when your kids are older, they moved on. It's not a whole lot that goes on with that. That's where your actual assets and building that portfolio is going to come into play for sure.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I think that was a powerful note to end on. I think we kind of, just started sort of at the base, and we ended on uh, how most of us will sort of close out our lives. Hopefully we will have enough to, sustain ourselves on retirement. I know a lot of people are probably, well, GoFundMe is going to be there, and somebody like will die and leave me some insurance money. That's going to be there, and that's not enough to sustain yourself. I think if you have, or at a place in your life where you have enough money right now to start, take advantage of that. And I also think that, like you said, I think that was very powerful when you spoke about retirement, and that is to think about a number, that you have in mind. You said 2.5, but the way I live, I need about 4 million.
Yeah,
let me tell you something.
You adjust for how you live, but those
to
are
me,
base numbers.
2.5 is like living on Social Security.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I deserve better than that.
Yep.
And for me, it's all about the hustle. At 40 years old, I told myself, I said, this is about the grind for the next 10 years, because I'm not going to say that I was sleeping. I would say that I was misappropriating what I was afforded the privilege to have. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I got to make up for that. That's what life is all about. And that's what making mistakes is all about, and waking up is all about. So with that, brother, tell us about, I know you gave us an introduction of your background and everything. Tell us about where we can find you, your content, and what you're doing next.
Absolutely. So you can find me, of course, on Facebook, Travis Turner, on Instagram, trav.turner. And just hit me up on there. What I do is introduce people from the basics of investing, how to be great investors for themselves, learn the terminology all the way up to being independent investors. So yeah, just hit me up on either one of the platforms. Investwithtravis.com if you want to check out the website. So it's a lot of great valuable information that's out here, and a lot of people just lack the actual education to start making it happen for themselves. So like I said, I consider myself a liaison for people who were like me, who didn't know anything, to become very great investors in the long run. So that's what I'm about. So you can hit me on any of those platforms.
Absolutely. Well, Travis, brother, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I don't think I could have done this with anybody but you, preferably. Again, like I said, I've been following Travis for quite some time, and I've always paid attention to how the brother lives. Y'all think I'm going to need about 4 million. He's going to need about 10. He's trying to be modest and shit. But again, thank you everybody for showing up tonight. I will catch you next Wednesday when the topic, for now. You know what I was going to say, but hey, check me out next week. I'll bless you with it. So everybody have a good night. I'll see you next week. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro.